we stand today? My friend that owned this amp, I built this and I had him in mind when I built it. I thought, man, I'm going to build this amp. It's going to be kick-ass and he's going to want to buy it. And I built it. And guess what? He bought it. And he ended up having a problem with something else in his system. Would be the best way to put it. And his other primary box that he ran, he ended up popping a pill in it. He thought, no big deal. So then he went and he hooked this thing up, the shiny pretty penny 99%er, and ran it for a hot minute, and then it blew up some pills. And he come through here yesterday, and I said, hey man, I know you're wanting to do some other stuff with your vehicle, and how about I trade you? And he says, oh dude, really? For what? And I said, I got the big ass car audio amp that you really want. How about we trade and we'll call it even Steven? He goes, all right. See, my personal thing is I don't care. This box got broke. No big deal. I personally wanted to have this back. I built this amp. There's only 2 amps, or well, maybe 3 that I've ever built that I really, really wanted to keep for myself, but I had the idea of selling them when I built them. And this is one of them that I wanted to keep for myself. And to be able to get this back, I don't care. The exterior of this thing is mint. The inside of this thing is mint. It's got a pop pillar too. Who cares, right? Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get this fixed and working, and then I'm probably going to vacuum pack it and seal it and set it on the shelf. To be honest with you. I love this freaking amp. One of these things, this probably will never be built again. And if it does, it definitely won't be built with Toshibas. I guarantee you that. I mean, yeah, a guy could call up our friends over at ICA Manufacturing, and he could probably get himself another all copper cabinet built. That's not special. And a guy could probably go to some company in India or wherever and get more skeeved off solid copper heat sinks. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, anything's possible. I'm over here looking right now. I'm looking for the hunks of, I'll find them after I shoot this segment, of course, hunks of heatsink. But, and a guy could get himself a completely custom one-off, board and replicate this amp if they wanted to. So I'm not saying that this is like impossible to get done. I'm just saying the odds of it are probably fairly low that somebody's going to ever want to emulate this box. And this one in the copper mine, that one was that 32 pill I built for my friend down in California. That amp was so gorgeous. And this amp is so pretty. I couldn't help myself but bring it back in the fold. So, needless to say, let's go over here and let's take a quick look. Our output combiners have been a little smoked. This is burnt, that's burnt, this is burnt, that's discolored. So I got to replace all 4 of these. The problem ended up being downline from the amp. So it's not any fault of the amp per se, but it is what it is. Needless to say, this input splitter got really hot, and in turn, this output combiner got really hot. That output combiner got really hot, and this flyback resistor got really hot. Which transistors got popped is this one and this one. So what we've got to do here this afternoon is we've got to pull this out, all of this off, pull these out, and then we have to pull out these 4 transistors. These 2 and these 2. Me personally, am tempted to put brand new Toshibas back in the spots. Put all 4 brand new Toshibas in here, that way they're all matched perfectly, 100% new. But I am kind of curious to see what the gains are on their paired partners. Like this transistor's popped and this one's popped. But to do the proper repair properly, what we would want to do is we pull out all 4 of these pills, all 4 of the Toshibas, and then we read the beta gain of this one, and we read the beta gain of this one, and then hopefully in our myriad of used transistors, we can find a transistor that has a very close beta gain to this one and a very close beta gain to this one, and we could go ahead and put this all back together. In theory. We have this auxiliary brand new Toshiba sitting here, and I put that in here plus all of these resistors and these resistors down here as an extra. You know, because as time goes by, the Toshibas are getting harder and harder to get, number one. And number two, these parts, we can still get these 5-watt resistors, no doubt. Okay? But the paint scheme might change, and we can still get these blue 10 ohmers, no question about it. But in the future, that might not be the case. I still have enough of these parts sitting here that I'm not going to utilize anything out of the parts bank. I knew this going out. A lot of these high dollar boxes, when I build them like this, I put the parts bank in here. So that if I don't do the repair, somebody else in the future has access to the exact same parts to put the amp back in place, right? So we've got 4 burnt resistors here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that leaves us 1 extra. Well, let's say this one here is not all that discolored, and neither is this one. So we could replace these 2 obviously fried off resistors, and replace these 2 obviously fried off resistors, and place this resistor, and we've used all of the parts out of the parts bank. But it still leaves us a transistor short. Hey, in the land of $250 a piece Toshibas, the fact that I provided a backup Toshiba inside this amplifier for somebody in the future, hey, come on now, I think that's pretty cool. Let's get in here. I'm going to pull all these burned off parts out. We're going to set everything aside. We're going to set the transistors down, and when we come back, we're going to do a beta gain test. Okay. So, pulled this transistor out. It had a gain of 75. Pulled that transistor out, had a gain of 74. So I put the 2 together in the same bank. So now all I got to do is do some crazy shit like this. There's $500 worth of transistors right there. Yes, sir. $500. It's a rare moment right here. I'm telling you, this is rare. Matter of fact, I'm going to stop. I'll pull the camera out here. Let's prop these up so the shadow looks right. There we go. Okay. Do this just for fun. Now, don't look too closely at my dear old hands here. When I was in Hawaii here a couple weeks ago, like, well, let's see, what is today? Saturday. Yeah. 6 days ago, 5 days ago, we went offshore, and my friend, who owns the coolest offshore company, Monterey. If you guys want to go do a dive tour in Hawaii or go see, these are the guys. I'm here to tell you, their boats, all of their equipment, top notch. But, okay, anyhow, we did everything we could to keep ourselves from getting sunburned. I had 50 SPF, full-length neon green shirt that went down to here, and I mean, I was covered up head to toe, but any place that wasn't, like the top of my hands, even though I had the zinc-based sunscreen on, you know, stuff that you smear it on, you stay white, yeah, I still managed to get sunburned on top of my hands. So, and like the very back of my neck, even through the head sock, I got sunburned through the head sock. So, yeah, my whole face covered up except for where my sunglasses went, and the little edges of my face that weren't covered by the head sock, they got sunburned. Okay. Gain of 74. gain is 75. They're spot on with each other. Now, what I always think is odd is, let me grab this other tester from when I was a kid. I've had the same little Synco tester since I was a young man. I haven't changed the battery in this in 30 years. What you do is you adjust it till this neon bulb goes out, and according to this thing, it's got a beta gain of 35. It could be that the battery is finally starting to get low. The odds of that are probably pretty good. According to this one, I got a gain of like 32, 33. Is what it is. Okay. Let's put some thermal compound on these transistors, and let's put them in the holes. I remember when I was a kid looking in the RF parts catalog and seeing these for $12 a piece, thinking how cool it would be if I'd ever have the opportunity to be able to get like 8 or 16 of them, how badass that would be. I mean, I was a little kid. In perspective, I was like 15 or 16 years old at the time. Maybe 17, 16. Thinking like that. Little did I know. Fast forward to today. Little did I know. Okay, so here we are at the tail end of the story. So, where to start? Let's do meters, because the amp's all put back together and sitting here just totally farting around with it. That's a 1,000 watt slug in peak, 1,000 in average, 5 watt slug in reverse, back from the bird, 10,000 watt dummy load. This is a 50 watt slug that's sitting between the bench 2 pill. The bench 2 pill, we're hitting it with the derail striker 955. And the peak kit on this is obviously off here, this one here. And we got the 50 watt slug in reverse between the bench 2 pill, just to show you input reflect. Okay, so like I said, 1,000 watt slug over here in 5X. So let me show you what we're putting into this for drive. First off, hello, 1, 2, about 600 some watts just for drive. Peak, by the way. So we'll turn on our 16 pill. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. About 1,000 bird, right? And just short of 4,000, say 3,900 watts. The fun bit is this, because we all know that we can put a 2x4 into this and run it all damn day, in theory, or a 4 pill. So this needle here, fully deflected to the corner, is 50 watts. When we key up, a little bit of RF getting into my mic, I'm sure it's getting into the receive of everything here, the wireless mics and stuff. But look at this. Hello. We're seeing what? Maybe 2 watts dropping to 0 under load. Hello. Let's zoom in here a little bit. Be a little bit easier for y'all to see. Hello. It's about as good as we're gonna get. That's on 15 volts flat. I'll call this a win. No parts coming out of the amp, nothing smoking like crazy. Call it a win. I don't know if RF's getting into the microphone or not for you all on your side. I'm assuming it is, because it's getting into everything else over here. I don't have the lid shut up on none of this stuff, so. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's just hitting it with a 2 pill. it is what it is. So the only thing I got left I got to do now is lock this tuning tube down and lock this one down. Pretty much right where we started. I just wanted to play with it. But the neatest thing I've thought that's come out of this whole mess is this here. And let me get you a resistor out to show you a comparison between the two. So the new resistors, when I take them out of the bag, they look a little different than after we clear them. We'll focus on this one here, if the camera's even going to let me do it. Okay. If you notice, I was thinking, wow, these same lot of resistors that I bought, right? When I pull them out of the bag, look at the paint on the resistors. See that? When you clear these resistors, shoot them with a little bit of clear, the paint actually bleeds a little bit and it stretches out. So I was a little worried. I went and I put the new resistors in there and I'm like, man, this doesn't frickin' look right. Because looks mean a lot to me. I mean, is it really going to affect the overall operation of the amp? No, not at all. But I like everything to look right. You know what I mean? It's got to look fucking right. But once I shot them down with clear, see like these here? So the colors bled a little bit out of these resistors and it looks a little bit thicker. This is a stock resistor from before the meltdown, stock resistor from before the meltdown. You can't tell the difference now. So it's just all about the clear and how it interacts. We'll go over here, we'll look at the final stage combiner ring. Same thing. Can't tell. It looks perfect again. I'm telling you, shooting this with a little bit of clear to help it stay pretty. If you got to come back and do a repair, it doesn't affect it at all. It doesn't. I mean, I did all my solder work over here and then I come back with some 90% rubbing alcohol and I cleaned all the flux off of whatnot and what have you, and then come back and shot it with clear, and I did the same thing through here. So, I mean, it's got to look right to be right. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just me. So I just cleaned up this whole side of the box, and I had to clean up the whole lid. There was, I don't know what, got spattered down the front of the the top of the cabinet. We got all that cleaned up. A little bit of cleanup I got to do down this side, but we're freaking done. This thing's working like a Swiss watch. But oh, 1, 2, 1, 2. No more squeal in the microphone. But oh, 1, 2, 1, 2. I got great input reflect. Thing is screaming. Just the way it should be. Just the way it was when it left here. I'm happy. So, I spent a few more hours on this. It's been a good way to spend the day. It's been very relaxing and cathartic to me. Getting to put this back into one piece. Friggin' stoked to have this back. I mean, it only costs $700 and something in parts, but it's okay. It's back home. My friend that had this loved the hell out of this box. He was proud as shit to own it. So don't think for 1 second, I'm giving him a hard time or I'm saying anything negative, because I am not. Stuff only stays perfect if you never touch it. This thing went out in the world, it got used, it got loved, and it broke. That's all there is to it. We figured out what caused the problem, fixed it, and we're moving on. I'm just super stoked to have this back. This one and the copper mine are the only two that I'd love to have back out of all the literally thousands that I've built. And I've got one. I better get out a dump truck worth of money to get that copper, or get the copper mine back. And I have no use for this, nor do I have any use for the copper mine. I got 48 pill in my truck. What am I going to put this in my wife's truck? I'm talking radio. Gentlemen, I appreciate you all following along. Like I said, this has been a fun afternoon for me. Very relaxing, very cathartic. This has been good. So, got a little bit of, I got to re-clear the back of the cabinet back here a little bit from where I was wiping. There's some little flecks of black paint. I guess when I gave it to him, it was in black, it was in bubble wrap, and there was like little tiny pieces of paint that were in that bubble wrap, and Some of it's stuck to the clear that's on this copper. So what I've been doing is just going along and just taking alcohol and stripping the clear off and then putting new clear over the top of it to get rid of these little tiny scuffs. So it's nothing that can't be fixed. Remember, if it once worked, it might take a little bit of money, but we'll make it work again. Here's what it is. Gentlemen, I want to say thanks to my Patreons. As always, they are the most important people in the world to me. I love these guys. They come and help support the channel, and I love creating content just for them. Honestly, I do. They get to see every day what I'm doing here on the workbench, and they get videos all the time that you guys out here in YouTube land, you never all get to see. I'm telling you, it is what it is. Big shout out to my friends over at Penna Labs, Excess Power, Siglant, MechMan, Bird, Coaxial Dynamics. And a big thanks, honestly, to all of you guys that follow along with all this crazy shit I do over here all the time. I appreciate you, gentlemen. I say thanks. On that note, I'll see you. Click, click.